chocolate or vanilla frosting as you want. So, how do you do your Dunkaroos?
The two-fisted? I mean three-fisted dunk.
Ever wonder what the Power Rangers really talk about?
We're not about to miss Who's the Boss.
It's 5:30. Quick, turn on Fox 33.
Watch carefully, folks. Oh, we'll surely be right back.
Cheeseburgers. Cheeseburgers. Rubble, rubble.
Whoa!
Thanks.
Move over.
Hey!
I called it out.
What's popping up at McDonald's? The Animaniacs. You can go wacko with Yakko and Dot or zany with Pinky and the Brainy. One toy with each Animaniacs Happy Meal you buy. A Happy Meal is always happy, but for a limited time, it's gone a little wacky.
Move over.
Flintstones, in the Flintstones, they're a modern Stone Age family. Here's Fred in his hard hat, he really rocks in Mr. Slate's quarry. Then watch Fred and Barney's movie.
Sorry, Lawrence, let's see.
Hey Fred, Brontosaurus steaks to eat. When you're with the Flintstones, you'll have a great old time.
Hard Hat Fred, Bolorama Fred, Big Mouth Fred, and other Flintstones figures and cars sold separately. You from Mattel.
The Tom and Jerry kids will turn your world upside down.
How the heck did he do that?
They're unstoppable. Watch the Tom and Jerry Kids Show weekday afternoons on Fox.
We now return to our program. Look like time for some messages.
Eat the cat here. Catch me Saturday, like this.
Ready, set, go.
Here I come.
It's really odd to watch where you're going.
Watch Eat the Cat Saturday morning on Fox.
Cliff here at IHOP. You know, most people think of just one thing when they think of IHOP. But actually, IHOP makes much more than just great pancakes. Sushi? Oh, nobody does breakfast like IHOP does breakfast.
Try the delicious Passport Breakfast, only $3.99. 2 eggs, 2 bacon, 2 sausage, and 2 international pancakes. Just $3.99 weekdays at IHOP.
As a consultant working on NASA projects, Deborah Pennington has taken her DeVry education a long way.
I'm working in real-time software, exploring new frontiers. DeVry opened up a whole new world for me.
At DeVry, you earn a bachelor's degree that meets today's challenges in business and technology.
With DeVry, success isn't that far away.
Call now, 1-800-247-7800. Day and evening classes available. DeVry, we're serious about success.
Last time those guys said I wasn't good enough, but this time Tony and I are ready.
Go to the backhand and then shoot. That away. Winners practice hard and eat smart. Like this complete breakfast, including the sweet crunch of Kellogg's Frosted Flakes. They're great.
Can I play?
Oh, no, can you?
Here goes.
Show them you're a tiger. Show them what you can do.
Wow, Brian.
Taste the Kellogg's Frosted Flakes.
This kid's better than you.
Bring out the tiger in you.
And you.
Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when Barney comes for you? When Barney's out patrolling his beat, bad boys stay off at his street. They know that Barney keeps his eye on the town. Mess up, you're gonna go down. Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when Barney comes for you?
Cop in Mayberry. The Andy Griffith Show. Weekdays at 11 on Fox 33.
Let's get on back to our show. Now's a good time for these messages.
A time long ago, in a kingdom full of magic.
Follow the thread.
Join a bold and beautiful princess.
You didn't tell me you were a princess. You didn't ask.
And a clever and courageous boy.
It'll take more than a few goblins to make me
In an incredible adventure.
It's the Princess Guitar.
Full of imagination and fun. The Princess and the Goblin starts Friday, June 3rd at theaters everywhere.
Now it's time for the Pizza Head Show.
Hey, get a pizza pack with a Marvel card, a Marvel comic book, and a cup for $2.99 at Pizza Hut. You can collect all 4, one each week.
That's great, Pizza Head. And here comes this week's supply.
Oh, I'm seeing stars here.
That's no star. That's a meteor.
A meteor? Help, help, help!
Fear not, Pizza Head. Here's Super Steve to save you.
Oh, good. Hey, wait, he's not a superhero.
Sure he is. And he says you'll be safe if you stand right here.
Well, I'm not really so stupid.
See you next time.
Next time, send a real superhero.
These Fox superheroes are coming at you in all shapes and sizes. Spoof, King Spoof, catch the fastest tongues in the West.
Ah, for crying out loud.
Who shoot from the lip?
You demented ding-dong.
So join the Crusaders of Comic Capers.
I put my pen in your pocket.
Because when it comes to rounding up fun, they're the best fun on.
Show these kids the door.
That's okay. We can see it from here.
Catch the Crusaders of Comic Capers, Animaniacs, weekday afternoons on Fox.
Was it something we said?
Our show is back on.
And now a message totally for kids. Mike, stop it.
Now, come on now.
You know, some things are good to share. Toys, food, fun. But your body belongs to you. Hi, I'm John Walsh. Did you know that even if you love somebody, it's okay to tell them that you don't feel like being touched?
No.
Some kinds of touch are good, and they make you feel happy. But there are other kinds of touching that can scare you, even make you feel ashamed. That kind of touching is called sexual abuse. And no matter how much you love somebody, that doesn't give them the right to hurt you. If somebody is touching your body in a bad way, it's not your fault. And if a person outside your home touches you in a bad way, tell your mom and dad. And if it's someone in your home, tell a teacher. And remember, your body belongs to you.
Advanced technology, vital to the new generation helicopters. That's where DeVry graduate Phil Batista gets involved.
I'm working for a leading aerospace company to develop advanced avionics for the Army's most advanced combat helicopter. I wanted a career that took me somewhere. DeVry was the right place to start.
DeVry brings the real world of today's technology to the classroom.
With DeVry, you're on your way up.
Call now, 1-800-247-7800. DeVry, we're serious about success.
I'm going easy at Discovery Zone, discovering what I can do on my own.
I can jump, swing, crawl, or mountain climb.
I'm going DZ, it's one of a kind.
Hey kids, have a yabba dabba do time when you get this one-of-a-kind Flintstones cup filled with your favorite soft drink, all for just $1.99 plus tax. But hurry, supplies are limited.
Barney, are you thinking what I'm thinking? We're going DZ at Discovery Zone. Yabba dabba doo.
DZ, I just want to be.
The Mosleys are like any other family.
The two of you better not track water everywhere. Okay, Ma?
But South Central isn't like any other comedy.
You tell him to get that mess up right now, damn it, and I don't want to hear any crap about it.
An all-new South Central.
I'm sorry, Reverend.
Tonight at 8, 7 Central on Fox.
Can Cinnamon Toast Crunch go from intense to electrifying?
Now it can. I can see it now. A Cinnamon Toast Crunch electrified with a taste of cinnamon and sugar.
Wow!
I've created
Lightning bites. Little lightning bolts and cinnamon and sugar right.
The striking part of this balanced breakfast.
Awesome.
The lightning won't last long, and it's only in specially sacked boxes of Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
This fall, you can either mow the lawn or you can eat it. The NFL coming this fall to Fox.
Married with Children, tonight at 6 on Fox 33.
Not so complicated, simple as can be. You're always a comfort, set my spirit free. Oh, you're the part of me, that's the heart of me. Dr. Pepper, you're a part of me. Dr. Pepper, you're a part of me.
Introducing the most colorful paper towels ever. They're all new Bounty Fun Prints. And they're at Winn-Dixie. Wait till you see them. They're so much more colorful. They're the quilted, quicker pick-you-upper. And look for special prints every season. They pick up your spills and your spirits.
The quilted, quicker pick-you-upper.
New Bounty Fun Prints. Now at Winn-Dixie, Texas's original low-price leader.
Welcome, everyone. I hope everybody's having a fantastic week so far. We have reached the hump. Yes, we have. I'll be honest with you. I I had a little bit of energy left. And I realized I have not even looked at Betty's coverage of the same case that I'm covering. I've been very, very dismissive of it. Or the same trial anyway. And honestly, this is going to be reaction. Maybe she's full of insight, folks. Maybe Betty knows exactly what she's talking about when it comes to the Leticia Stauch trial. Is my nose growing yet? Yeah, I just thought that we'd hang out a little bit. I got a little bit of energy left after streaming for 8 hours today and yesterday and the day before. So tomorrow there is no court. I don't have a special guest set up just yet. May not even happen. But like I said, I've been trying to do it. But what's up, James? It's good to see you, buddy. We're in the meantime, we're just gonna hang out and just check on old Betty because I feel like I've been neglecting her. So let's check on her.
Gotten a better look at the assailant because she was there at the time that this stuff would have taken place on that second floor. So I just don't believe that what this Mirror article is saying happened and what happened is true.
Now she's talking about so there's a development in the Idaho case where Bethany Funk is being subpoenaed, I guess. Bethany Funk is one of the roommates, and I haven't really looked into that and what's going on with that lately. I honestly don't know as far as if she's a witness. As I understand it, she's a witness for the defense. So somehow or another she can the defense believes that she can help prove his innocence, but she doesn't want to testify, and if I had to guess, I would say that she doesn't want to testify because of creators like this, because of creators like Jonathan Lee Riches. I would guess that it's due to all of the publicity that has come with this case. She's mourning her friend's losses, and she just wants to move on with her life, as I understand it, the way that I would imagine it. Common sense dictates that. So she's I really don't know what I just fast forwarded it to, past her very high pitched greetings to her chat.
True, because even in the affidavit, it definitely does not discuss a naked man. Now,
naked man.
Do you guys want me to open up? Did you guys have any questions?
Now, if she's talking about I've never heard of the Mirror. Is the Mirror supposedly a news source? We all know what her idea of legitimate news sources are.
It's about that, about
but
Bethany Funk. About
now, she's saying that she doesn't believe it, but I mean, I never even heard of the Mirror, so yeah, I'm already going to take it with a grain of salt.
Full naked man running through the door and all this other stuff that night. Do you guys want to?
Thank you, Patricia.
Open up the phones. Do you guys want to discuss it? And also, I'll go back through the Brett Payne affidavit and read it. But I don't think even in the Brett Payne affidavit, I mean, we read everything that Bethany Funk that anything related to Bethany Funk in here, and we didn't see anything. I mean, outside of her corroborating what time people came home and what time they went to sleep, and the fact that Xana and Ethan were at the Sigma Chi fraternity party from 9 to 1:45. You know, outside of that, she didn't really have a whole lot of information in the report.
Okay.
Hey, Robin.
You don't know what information she has. Just because it's not in the arrest affidavit, it doesn't mean that it didn't happen. Okay. Now, if somebody says something happened and it's not in the arrest affidavit, I am going to take it with a grain of salt. But it's not. She's talking about the affidavit as though it has all of the evidence that the prosecution plans on presenting in a trial, which is just simply not the case. All it is it shows the probable cause that they had in order to make an arrest, that this person, that they have enough evidence to make an arrest and they feel confident to put him on trial in a courtroom and put him away, that they could prove the charges that they have against him. That the purpose of the arrest affidavit is to reassure that his rights aren't being violated, basically, that they had enough reason to place him under arrest. It doesn't mean that they have their entire case available for you to look at, and that it's the entire case that the prosecution plans on presenting to the jury. I don't know why she thinks this is ridiculous. You look at the Leticia Stauch trial, right? The murder of Gannon Stauch. Now, I followed that case closely, followed every update for 3 years. For more than 3 years, I followed that case extremely closely. And the people that they're calling to the stand, I had never heard of, most of them. The investigators involved, the evidence that they showed, a lot of the stuff is in the original arrest affidavit. The original is in there, or a lot of the stuff is in that affidavit, but it's not everything. And I guarantee you, the one that we didn't have access to, the one that's closed or that was closed to the public, that one, I promise you, did not have everything that they're presenting in court. I guarantee they didn't have everything that they're presenting in court.
I see you. I see you. I see you. I see you.
Wait.
Report.
I got a feeling here, folks. I got a feeling.
Hey, Robin. I see you. I see you. I see you. I see you.
Oh, yeah. Just MGL that shit. Just MGL that shit. Oh my God, lady, you are so fucking gross.
Nice to see you, Tammy Sue. But getting back to this, does anybody have any comments?
Dude, okay, so I'm a total child. I find this really funny because we don't have MGL anymore stuffing her face on camera. So I guess she wants to take up the mantle of the cochina on YouTube and just stuff her fucking face as if anybody wants to see that or hear her chew. It's and make the sound effects of someone who's just loving the food that she's eating. But she calls herself a professional journalist, a professional gonzo journalist, to be exact. So, so this is a professional gonzo journalist at work right here, because you see the likes of her hero Brian Enton just stuffing his fucking face on camera with food made with meat that's probably gone bad. Patty Barnett, member for 7 months. Thank you. Food is sexy sometimes. Not in this case, but welcome. Not in this case.
Comments? Do you guys want me to open the phones? Do you want me just to go on with the
Bro, nobody's calling. You know why nobody's calling, dude? Because nobody wants to hear you smacking that fucking nasty ass food in their ear. It's bad enough you're doing it on camera.
because I might have to open the phones at some point.
No, you
Sorry.
don't. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to do that.
I'm eating my breakfast.
Dude. Bro, nobody saw me eating breakfast. I was live. Nobody heard or saw me eat today.
And it was crazy because on the docket for Idaho, it was
Yeah.
the hearing's starting.
She's so shocked that court's starting on time, that the Leticia Stauch trial is actually starting on time. She's shocked. I mean, I guess it's because they've started on fucking time every single day that they've started this trial. This is week 4, I believe. If not, I don't even know anymore. They're all mashing together. Week 3 or week 4. Pretty sure it's week 4. Dude, she's so shocked. She's so shocked.
Hold on, guys. We gotta. The court is starting. We can't go over our second half.
Second half.
Holy crap.
Dude, and it's not starting necessarily. Just because the camera's fucking turned on in the courtroom, just because the WebEx began, it didn't mean that court proceedings started. I went live at 11 and it was starting at 11 Eastern time, 9 a.m. their time. But she's in the Eastern time zone.
We're going to give the jury just a couple more minutes. Yeah.
Phil Jackson sounds great.
And guys, don't go anywhere because we've got the whole affidavit, the whole opinion from the second DCA over the gag order that I wanted to go over with you guys, but it looks like we're starting on time today.
Yeah, the gag order that you wish wasn't happening and you think is unconstitutional, when really it's just about keeping idiots like you from spreading rumors, because we all saw what all of you idiots did with the information that was released prior to Brian Kohberger's arrest. Because what we saw was a shit ton of irresponsible YouTubers spinning rumors and spreading misinformation on these roommates, specifically, and anybody who was not involved in the case, whose name just happened to leak, and all kinds of rumors and speculations were spinning around, and they found somebody who they may not even have enough of a case for. By the way, people, there may not be enough of a case to convict this guy. Just be ready for that. I'm not saying there isn't. I'm saying be ready for the possibility that there isn't. And there's not nearly enough information for her to make any type of assessments on this case right now, as well as the fact that, like I said, this gag order that she says is unconstitutional. Well, it's not, because Brian Koberger has the right to a fair trial, and the victims have a right to justice. More importantly than her rights that she has to talk about something, she doesn't have the right to have the details in an open investigation. None of us are entitled to the details of an open investigation. She thinks that we all are, that we're all entitled, that it's our First Amendment right. It's actually not. So whatever is released to the public, well, the press could talk about it, but they have absolutely every right to release to the public as much as they feel comfortable as investigators to release publicly on an open investigation. So,
or not time. I mean, it is, but it's 8:30 there. They're here. They're there awfully early. What the heck? No, it's 10.
Dude.
No, it's 9. I guess they're starting on time. Maybe the weather wasn't as bad as what they thought it was.
Dude, you know what the first thing I did today, covering the same trial? Since I paid attention yesterday, also what I did today was I got in touch with Cherry, asked her if she heard anything, checked myself what the weather was like in Colorado Springs, Colorado. It seemed just rainy, 40 degrees-ish. Not what they didn't expect. They just anticipated the possibility that there might be a delay because there's supposed to be a storm coming through. So it was just a question of actually looking at the weather app and one of your 20,000 devices that you have sitting around you that you've grifted money for because you said you needed, which you don't even seem to know how to use. No, she's not in Colorado.
For the jury to get back, we might.
Okay.
So while we're waiting for the jury to get back, we might as well go over some of the stuff that was in this second DCA opinion, and we'll go over it more in depth, probably on the lunch break. But this opinion was actually really good for the Associated Press and the other, collective media outlets that are challenging the gag order in Moscow, Idaho, in Latah County. And when I read this, I was actually pleasantly surprised with the commentary in here from the judge. It was very good, crystal clear, and it looks like that this was a procedural issue as to why it was denied. And we're going to discuss those procedural issues with this opinion and why they denied.
So wait a second. So basically you're impressed because the judge followed procedure as far as coming to the decision as to deny the gag order be lifted. Is that what you're saying? Because that's what it sounds like you're saying, that you're impressed that the judge did his job. Like, what did you think he was going to do? Did you think that the judge was just going to go up there and sound stupid like you? Like, think about that for a second. Like, what is she imagining is going to happen in her mind when a judge makes a decision on a motion being filed in a case, especially one that's this high profile, and that being the Brian Kohberger trial? I don't understand. she's like it was procedural. It was procedural. Okay.
Denied the petition of this court to revoke or to prohibit. It's a writ of mandamus or writ of prohibition to vacate the non-dissemination order issued by a magistrate judge in the pending criminal case of Brian Kohberger. They're alleging First Amendment rights issue, a constitutional grounds in Idaho as well as U.S. Constitution. And that is all addressed here in this opinion by this judge, and very well written, if I say so myself. But definitely,
she says so herself. Y'all.
This is not at all stating that the media had no legs or no, that this didn't have merit. Their case absolutely has merit. And this judge walks through this opinion and explains it. And I love how.
Well, every case that you present to a judge is going to have some merit to it. Now, her opinion of what merit is a whole nother story, which I am curious about, but I don't think we're going to hear it. We're just going to hear that she has an opinion on what's merited and what isn't. So, but yeah.
How he did it. So I do want to dive into this opinion further with the audience, because it's going to go over quite a bit. Looks like Mama Bullhorn is up this morning and sending us some information about cases already this morning. So good morning, Mama Bullhorn, if you're there.
She her mom enables this fucking shit. Like, it's so, to me, it's so explanatory that her mom enables her as much as she does. And then we see the kind of behavior and the lack of self-awareness that Betty has. Ken's Kelsey Couch says, the glare, to be fair, she's correct on that point. Filing a writ of mandamus at the Supreme Court of Idaho is an attempt to invoke original jurisdiction to overturn a gag order. I'm not saying that it's that I'm not saying that it's not a legit filing. I'm not saying that at all. Of course it's a legit filing. I'm just challenging her actual understanding of it.
Putting the fox in the hen house, Martin Hyde, roast, Manatee County, plan to hire mast. I wish I was there yesterday. I probably should have been at the meeting yesterday, and I chose not to go. And apparently one of my favorites, his name is Martin Hyde. He's remember that red hat I had that said cancel culture? He was the politician that gave me that. But Martin Hyde is overseas. Yeah, he's an overseas guy that loves the United States and ended up moving here many years ago, and is just a really great guy. He's got success and successful businesses and whatnot, and I really do wish him the best, but I definitely wish I would have been there. Had I known he was going, I would have absolutely been there. He's my bud.
Now, that dude's her bud. Brian Enton's her bud. JLR is her bud. Dolly's her bud. Just so you know.
So
these are all people that she claims.
All right, guys. So I do see the camera is coming in much clearer on this restream. Thank God. So my question would be to everybody that's watching. We have 318 people in the chat right now that is watching the trial for Leticia Stauch. If you guys are unfamiliar with Leticia Stauch is accused of killing an 11-year-old stepson of hers while her husband was away for training in the military. Something happened when they found.
I assume we have our witness, right?
Yes.
When they found Gannon, he was bludgeoned, blunt force trauma, stabbed 18 times, and shot in the head once. And
exactly
they
the
accused
same thing.
Leticia Stauch of doing that. This
All
is
rise for the jury,
this is
please.
The trial of Leticia Stauch, and we've been watching and listening to it. She has went from not guilty to not guilty by reason of insanity, which is basically stating that she is guilty of the charges that she did kill Gannon. However, she was so insane and mentally insane at the time that she should not be held accountable for her actions because she didn't know right from wrong due to her mental illness at the time this action happened, at the time she murdered this boy. So
Thank
we
you, ma'am.
had
Be seated.
very
Court will
heartwarming
recall
testimony
20 CR
from her daughter
1358.
that
I love that she just keeps talking over the judge. You know, like if you know that the judge isn't saying anything that's like of merit, like at least mute him, right? If you're refreshing your audience on the case, and I will give her credit in the sense that she hasn't gotten anything wrong as far as what she's describing so far. She hasn't gotten anything wrong yet as far as what she's describing, but like if you're refreshing your audience onto what's going on here, like at least mute the judge, you know, mute the because I was actually for a very brief moment impressed with what she was saying because I'm following this trial very closely myself, and she hadn't screwed anything up just yet. But like at the same time, I couldn't pay attention to what she was saying because the judge was talking, and she just didn't have enough sense to even like.
that
People
broke
versus
our heart.
Leticia Stauch. Record should
And now
reflect
we're
the jury
back
has returned to
into
the
the
courtroom.
courts.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Would you like
I'm
us to
glad
focus
everybody
on
made it in
her
in
or
light of
focus
our
on the
epic snowmageddon.
the
Again, has anything
podium
occurred
and
since
the
we were last
witness?
together that causes any of you to believe that you could not continue to serve as a fair and impartial juror in this case? If so, please raise
What
your
are you
hand.
doing, Betty? What do you got?
No response?
Okay.
All right.
She just
with
shut the
that,
fuck
prosecution,
up.
call your next witness, please.
Thanks, Sean. Good morning. We would call
All right,
Dr.
so-
Jackie Grimmett.
Hold on, let me
and I'm just like gesturing, but
Yeah.
if you need a response, yes.
Yeah. So
she had no emotion from.
Where it comes or goes.
Oh, I think they were still just.
Morning.
Okay. Now, she might just do okay here. Because the truth is, it's not a difficult case to follow. It really isn't.
Dr. Grimmett,
It's pretty like open shut.
So we are listening to some of the people that have came into contact with. Oops, let me get some lights on here. Keep forgetting the lights are off. Sorry. There we go. I don't want it too bright. It blinds me. Oops, wrong. No, it's too bright. You guys see me okay?
God, bro. Jesus fuck.
So I've got some things that I'm notating. And I actually kind of like this being
Notating.
on kind of on her while the psychologist or I don't know what I apologize. I'm not paying attention to who this actual person is, but I know it's somebody in the medical field that's was taking notes on her behavior.
It's not somebody who's just taking notes on her behavior. It's somebody assigned to evaluate her mental health capacity, which is her entire defense. What are you How do you not know that?
She also identified that Leticia started exhibiting some of these so-called symptoms around November, right in and around the time that she changed her plea from not guilty to not guilty by reason of insanity. And there's one spot, and we're not going to go through it now. I know we have a little bit of time, but I don't want to disrupt the feed because that kind of triggers me when they come back on. But I think around the lunchtime, when they take their lunch break, which should be in, I don't know, a little under 2 hours, I believe, there is time for us to kind of go back in the
This one
video.
isn't in slow motion.
There's
This is
one
her.
spot in particular, while I was watching her, when I was hearing what was coming out of the mouth of this particular witness.
Who is?
She's saying something, and Leticia's body language. I don't want to spill the beans yet, so I don't want to tell you what her body language was saying. But there is a part, and it wasn't just that part. There was a few parts in here.
Betty's a body language expert, and she can read the body language of Leticia Stauch. Now, what's really interesting about this case, there's an irony to it. Luke, thank you so much. Is Brett Michaels talking about true crime? Oh my God. Unskinny bop indeed, my friend.
Here.
So,
where it
this is hold on, I forgot what I was going to say. Let's just keep playing it, and I'm sure it will come back to me.
Was an involuntary movement that I don't think Leticia realized that.
Yeah, so she's a body language expert, and she's got a bombshell for you guys as far as Leticia's body language goes. Her body language is not even a thing. I'll tell you why the body language isn't even a thing to even analyze at all at this point, because she's not trying to hide anything. She's already been caught giving people in the jury the finger. She's already been caught giving people in the courtroom and on the stand the finger. She's been caught making just inappropriate hand gestures all through the beginning of this trial. Totally. And of course, you know, since she's claiming insanity, it could all just be part of her trying to act like she's insane. But it's a bad move. It's a bad move. But to claim like there's this hidden thing in her body language is fucking asinine, because Leticia is by far, easily, since Charles fucking Manson, the one person, or even Richard Ramirez, that when I look at in a courtroom, I'm like, that's an evil motherfucker. You know, I see myself looking at these cases and going, I wonder if that person is insane or not. With Leticia, I don't have any doubt in my mind that she is an evil person. This is, like I said, as far as the facts go of what happened, it's a pretty open and shut case. But there is the chance that her defense has found a way to be able to create doubt, which is all their job is to do. But we'll get into that later if necessary.
That she is making during this trial. And there's one area in particular, if I can find it, which we're going to look for on the lunch break hour about that. We're also going to be, well, I guess I can go over some of the new updates. Some of them are not good, folks. So for Quentin Simon, many of you guys, I'm not sure if you know who Quentin Simon is, but Quentin Simon was a little 20-month-old boy that disappeared out of Chatham County, which is Savannah, Georgia. Many of us know it by Savannah, Georgia. But this is Chatham County. And this was in, not really the city. This is more in the rural area, but not. There was a lot of houses in this area, but it wasn't in the city. It was actually it's a distance away from the city, quite frankly. This little boy disappeared. So it was stated very early on in the case that the mother was the only suspect in the disappearance of her son, and they believed that her
It wasn't early in the case that they made that
son was deceased, and that they believed that she threw him away in a nearby mobile home park dumpster, and that dumpster had gone to a local landfill. So they, at that point in time, didn't even have anything ready for the landfill. But I remember the whole time.
So what she's doing right now is throwing shade at Chief Hadley of the Chatham County Police Department. She's throwing shade at him. She likes to refer to him as No Charge Hadley. She likes to flat out accuse this guy of not doing his job. Thank you, Heels in the Air. I appreciate that. Yours as well. She likes to flat out basically accuse this guy of incompetence and being lazy and not doing his job, which in turn just accuses the whole police department of not doing their job. And she's throwing shade, basically saying, well, they knew that he was dumped in a dumpster, and that they should have been looking in the landfill earlier. They should have put it together that he was in the landfill. But what she doesn't seem to understand, someone who claims to be an investigative journalist, what she doesn't seem to understand, someone who claims to be someone who understands how the law works because she is a paralegal, what she doesn't seem to understand is that it takes time to organize a search like that. You don't just get a bunch of dudes, throw on some rubber gloves and stick them out in the landfill and start tossing garbage like this. That's not how that works. They have to actually organize a search because they're looking for the body of barely a toddler boy. And that is not that's not a process that requires anything less than professional searching methods. It's the idea is to not only recover this boy and give him a proper burial, but it's also to use as evidence to convict the mother of this boy, who they believed was the suspect earlier on than when they made an arrest. Absolutely. But what they were doing was building a case. And while she was yelling through a bullhorn, disturbing the neighbors, tampering with potential suspects, potential witnesses, while she was directly interfering with the integrity of this investigation, she was insulting the chief of police, who was at the time organizing a search for that landfill. And that search for that landfill, the search in that landfill, took place while she was out there basically causing a ruckus and throwing a monkey wrench in an open investigation. An investigation where the purpose is to get this little boy justice. So, right. And God knows whatever the fuck. Yeah. So, and she makes a party out of it. She brings these other clowns out there with her. She makes a complete party out of this. She's screaming through a bullhorn. Some other lady screams her arrest record through a bullhorn, and then Dolly assaults her, and he ends up in handcuffs. They end up in front of the police station trying to protest Dolly's arrest and get interviewed. And then they think that they're getting this positive publicity but then get aired on the local news there in Savannah as hecklers, not protesters, hecklers. Even though she likes to call it protesting, but it's not protesting at all. So here she is basically throwing shade at Chief Hadley, whereas he actually has, despite her being a direct distraction and her antics, this man was building a case that they now have and are bringing to the table when it comes to prosecuting Leticia Simon.
I heard that Quentin was potentially in the landfill. I remember a story, an event where they used the logistics of the landfill to help locate and cordon off the trash that it could possibly be. And I think that that's what they did, but they didn't do it until almost 10 days later after, and it might have been even 12 days later after finding out that he could potentially be in the landfill. And it was very upsetting because we didn't know at that time if they had already cordoned off that trash early on.
You're talking about the city landfill, dude. You're talking about where everybody's trash goes. And you're talking about a process that would mean stopping garbage from coming in to at least certain parts of it, if not all of it. They have to search the entire landfill. That means they have to organize and figure out a whole new system of how the trash, everyone's trash, is going to end up in this landfill to where it's not going to mess with their search. So that takes time. That's a really, really important process. Meanwhile, you're also trying to make sure that everyone else's garbage, while you're figuring this out, doesn't pile up in the front of their houses. And in a way, a little part of me, and I'll explain why not, but a little part of me wishes that would have happened, because she was standing out in front of people's houses for days. And if she would have been stuck out there with all that garbage, that would have been fucking fantastic. But the problem is the streets would have been full of garbage and it would have been miserable for everybody there. So not only would they have to deal with garbage out in their street, but they'd have to deal with that garbage out in their street being loud. So, no, yeah, I'm glad that didn't happen. But a little part of me wishes that she had to sit there and endure this while criticizing law enforcement.
On, so it wasn't getting, more stuff being dumped on it or cross-contaminated. If the dogs needed to try to find Quentin in that massive amount of garbage, I mean, you can imagine just how disgusting and massive that pile was. It is some of the most foul odor you could ever imagine. And I have to think in some cases more foul than, smelling the decay of a human.
Okay. So, yeah, smelling the decay of a human. So here are these officers that you were criticizing and you were insulting, who had to put on hazmat suits and plan how they were going to meticulously search a landfill full of refuse and garbage for a rotting corpse. I'm sorry to put that so crudely. I'm sorry about that. I know I'm talking about a child here, but it's the truth, because I also don't want to minimize what these men and women were doing. I don't want to contribute to her minimization of what these men and women were doing. They were out there looking for a toddler's corpse in 2 million pounds of garbage. And she has the audacity to talk about how she understands this now, but back then, she's proud of her actions back then, when she was absolutely criticizing and insulting Chief Hadley, which she continues to do.
Because I can't even imagine everything that's dumped, in trash receptacles. So
exactly.
Many weeks later, even though they had named her as the primary suspect in this case, this woman happened to be on 2 double probation and could not pass a urinalysis.
You know, you know what that reminded me of? It applied when she said it, but it reminded me of only because she's so stupid. Anchorman. Remember Anchorman? And like they're introducing all the characters, and Brian Fantana was like, you know, he had the gun and he was like, they call me the Bribe Man. Yeah, I got a nickname for my Johnson or whatever. And then they go to Steve Carell, Brick, and he's just like really dumb and he's putting mayonnaise in a toaster. And he's like, yeah, I like long walks on the beach and I like this and I like that. And then he goes, years later, doctors would say that I'm mentally retarded. He just goes to years later. So when she just went, you know, this was later, weeks later, I was just like, where are you going? What was that, a Brick moment just now?
This to state that she wasn't on drugs, and repeatedly lied to law enforcement about her son and about whether or not she's been using drugs or not, and where she has been. So
where's the update?
You know, fast forwarding forward, she was eventually arrested, and now the defense is trying to have 3 counts of the murder indictment removed, as well as 4 other counts, count 10, 12, 14, and
That's
17.
because it's their job.
Of the 19 count indictment against Leilani Simon. So you're talking about the bulk of the case. And there's a lot of stuff out there right now because this particular hearing is now being pushed back. I'm hearing, let me just get all the information, just bear with me. Is now being rescheduled and moved until late July, according to court records. And that was by a Twitter post from Brett Buffington. And then there was another a post that had a prior reference.
Oh my God, bro.
And it was from Bella Who. I'm not sure who Bella Who is, but it says, can't help but to remember this
No
post
more.
from the former DA.
No more tomfoolery.
In light
No more ballyhoo.
of the rehearing. And it says, I can't even begin to imagine how it is possible the office messed up the Quentin Simon's indictment this badly. Felony charges associated with felonies are not charged. This woman, any woman that can kill her own flesh and blood, deserves the death penalty. However, Shalana has charged the killer in such a way that she will likely get off on her felony murder charges with simple demurrer filed.
Now let me go over another little fact here, okay? There's a possibility that these charges might get dropped. There is a possibility that there's not enough evidence to convict Leilani Simon. I don't like it. I believe that she's guilty, personally. That's my personal belief. But here's the thing. Like in training day, it doesn't matter what you know, it's what you can prove. So it's quite possible, and prepare yourselves because you won't like it either, but it's quite possible that Chief Hadley, even after all of the complaining, because this is where I'm a big fan of irony, folks. After all of the complaining that Betty did about Chief Hadley not doing his job, calling him no charge Hadley, recently calling him no charge Hadley because he took too long to arrest Leilani Simon, correct? Now, it's quite possible that he arrested her too fast, because even though they found Quentin's body, even though they identified him as Quentin, it doesn't necessarily mean that they can prove that she's responsible. It doesn't necessarily mean that they have enough evidence to convince a jury who's not familiar with the case that she is responsible. So think about the irony in that. Imagine the irony. Imagine what it's going to be like when, if, I want to say if, knock on wood, if it turns out that these charges do end up getting dropped, or she beats them in trial, all because there wasn't enough evidence. And if there's not enough evidence, if the prosecution fails to present their case and prove their case, well, then you know what that means? It means that they arrested her too fast before collecting enough evidence. That's all that means. So think of the irony in that. Here she is, and she's all pissed off about this case and the things that are coming to fruition right now is the possibility that Chief Hadley may have arrested her too quickly, failing to collect enough sufficient evidence to convict her in a court of law. Imagine that. And according to her, she didn't get arrested fast enough. I mean, think about that.
And where is the super easy to prove cruelty to children charge? Shalana Crook Jones skipped law school on the day they taught the actual law. I am absolutely disgusted at how bad this indictment is. So this is very
that's also an excellent point. I don't want to overlook this point. Evil Queen is saying that's on the DA, not Hadley. Exactly. The DA determines whether or not there is enough evidence to convict. The DNA the DA tells law enforcement, I don't have enough, go get me more evidence. I can't convict on that. Get me this, get me this. This is what I need. Get me a confession. That's what I need. Get me a body. That's what I need. That's how it works. So that's on the DA. It's not even Chief Hadley's fault. And the fact that she doesn't even realize this, even though she got her degree from DeVry for law school, she doesn't seem to understand this, that the very law office where she claimed to work needs more evidence, and law enforcement's job is to get the evidence for the DA. That's it. So I don't understand why she just doesn't understand this simple.
Very concerning, to hear, especially about Leilani Simon. She was a cold young lady. She didn't have any empathy or sympathy. She didn't cry. She had no emotion related to the disappearance of her son, the death of her son, and the fact that she was being accused of the horrible crime of killing her son. No tears until it came to one clip on a TV, a news broadcast that was done out there. And other than that, you saw those little crocodile tears, but you never saw her break down any other time. I can tell you that I was out there quite a bit, and I have never once seen.
But see, that's not even circumstantial evidence. Not only is that not evidence, that's not even circumstantial evidence. That means dick in a courtroom. It's a little bit. It helps sweeten the deal. Like if you, in your closing arguments, you point out not once has the defendant shown remorse. That's where it works. You know what I'm saying? But that's not evidence. You can't convict somebody on whether or not someone cried enough for their own kid. That's not evidence. It's not even circumstantial evidence.
Seen or saw Leilani cry or break down. Not one time. Not one time. And she actually went out there to mock the people that were upset that she was not yet in jail, mocking them. It's just, it's sad. It's sad. And she should have been in jail. It should have never gotten to that point. They should have, they had it out for, according to No Charge Hadley, they had enough long before this. But
There,
even
she
if
said
they
it right
didn't,
there.
they had a mechanism to put her in jail until they found out. They had a mechanism to do that. And that mechanism was the violation of probation. They could have absolutely, without a doubt.
Oh, I already went over this. I even tagged her. I proved, I showed her a very clear example as to why they did not arrest Leticia Simon on a violation of her probation. Because they want her for murder. That's why. Because she would have been out on bail or bond or whatever. I went over this. I went over this. Like they're building a case for murder. They want her moving around. They want her to they want to track her movements. They want to know more. They want to have enough to throw the book at her in a courtroom and put her away for good to where she doesn't come out. That's the whole point. Okay? Going and slapping cuffs on her to where she's going to be out just a couple of hours later isn't going to do anything to help that.
Violated her probation and put her behind bars so she couldn't tamper with evidence. Because remember, they were still in that house afterwards. She couldn't tamper with evidence. She couldn't be a harm to herself or anybody else. She would have been in a safe environment until law enforcement found out what happened. She wouldn't be able to.
This is her explanation of how investigations work. This is how she thinks it goes down, folks. You know, people, I had no idea what I was. This is from today's stream. I had no fucking idea. I was like, Betty's going to talk about cases and it's going to be content. I'll just react to it. I can always count on Betty. And sure enough, here she is, not knowing jack shit about how investigations work.
Able to use drugs and party out on Tybee Island had used all.
Okay. So she's mad because Leilani and Billy Joe were out drinking and partying and having a grand old time while Leilani's son was missing and while Billy Joe's grandson was missing, right? After they've already named her a suspect, right? Now, what do you think is more effective towards a jury? Well, the defendant, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, this is one scenario. The defendant, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, after we announced publicly, the Chatham County Police Department announced publicly that the defendant was the prime suspect in this case. What she did was she ended up going to jail because she violated her probation, where she sat in a jail cell. She ate 3 meals. She was monitored, and everyone knew that she was being monitored. She knew she was being monitored. We knew when she ate, she slept, but she didn't do anything because she was in jail. Or, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, right after the defendant was announced publicly as the prime suspect, and her son is missing, the defendant decided to go out drinking and partying without a care in the world, is caught on video. You guys saw the video earlier in the trial of her having a grand old time while her son is missing and while she's being suspected for his murder. This is how she's choosing to spend her time. What do you think is going to impact the jury more? The fact that she was sitting in jail twiddling her thumbs, or the fact that she was on video out partying, getting drunk? What do you think is going to sway a jury to look at her as a monster more likely? I mean, and we're talking about somebody who works in the court system, right? She couldn't put this together. Hold on, look at the pause. Yeah. Screenshot. Yeah, unbelievable. Like, yeah, if I'm on the jury, it's way more damning that she went out partying. Way more damning to me. I'm already, that shows her character. Violating probation is, you know what I'm saying? Like, somebody on the jury could be like, my cousin violated probation. So fucking what? You know what I mean? It doesn't fucking matter. Like,
all the remedies at their disposal. That's typically, that's what I would have wanted from them. So
nobody cares what you want.
Just it never seems to amaze me, when you go into these communities and this is what you get, and it always seems like the criminal has one up on the victim. It always seems like in some of these communities that it's the victim that is supported by law enforcement, and it may, and I'm not saying that it just at times looks that way. I'm not wanting to paint a broad brush or anything like that, but
Betty, here's the another point of irony here. I every time I've streamed about you, I go over and show and explain why it's not the way that it seems to you. I actually point out and joke why it's funny that you think it seems that way, and why it's not funny that you think that it seems that way, both. But I also provide an explanation, a very simple explanation that any layman can come up with common sense, and you just choose to go that path of the way that it supposedly seems, and it doesn't seem that way if you have common sense.
at times in some places it does look like that, and in Georgia we've got this whole thing with this Georgia law. I don't know what happened in Georgia. I mean, I really don't. I don't remember Georgia law enforcement taking too kind to criminals and criminal conduct. Like I've always known Georgia law enforcement to be proud to put the bad guy behind bars, not let them sit out in their room. Like if they really thought that she did this, you would think that they would never allow her to sleep in her bed if they had a mechanism to put her in a jail.
Because the idea,
you know what I'm saying?
See, this is what I Betty, it's not about putting her in jail. It's about keeping her in jail. You can't keep her in jail on those fucking charges that you're talking about. You can't keep her in jail under the methods that you're talking about. You seem to completely dismiss the process of keeping someone in jail, the concept of keeping someone in jail, along with the process that it takes. You seem to completely dismiss this part of it, which is the most important part.
Like I guess I don't know. I guess I don't understand that. I just don't understand that. So
we know you don't understand it. It's clear that you don't understand it. It's
People can make a
painfully
difference.
obvious.
Yeah, they can make a difference by voting. We definitely recommend the voting process. I'm lifting you guys up just a tad.
Voting for what? As far as what you're talking about right now, what are you talking about? Voting what? What do you want to vote for? I don't understand. What do you want to vote for? What needs to change there? Because I don't think that people, I mean, a chief of police is appointed, aren't they? Aren't they appointed by like the mayor or whatever? I mean, I don't know. I honestly don't know. But you want to vote? Let's just say that's the case. You want to vote the guy out who supposedly took too long to arrest someone. Right, exactly, Heels. Who took too long to arrest someone when, first of all, he's only arresting based on what the DA tells him. So yeah, I figured it was a county or city thing, depending on, yeah, I know the sheriff is elected. But I just wasn't sure about the chief of police, but I guess it varies. But dude, look at her. Bro, evil. Like, you could just see the hatred in her face, bro.
That's a little bit better for me, so I can see the screen and see, because it's more eye level. Anyways, so that was the issue. So that was one of the things I was going to talk about on the lunch break was, you know, it sounds like there's becoming some major issues in the Leilani Simon case. There just seems like this is not sounding very good.
So that was the thought that I didn't finish, but I've made this point a dozen times already, that she's pissed that this chief, she wants to vote the guy out who it's not even his decision, and he probably even still made this arrest too fast, because now they're trying to drop charges. Now the defense is trying to get charges dropped, which is their job. Maybe they have no grounds to drop these charges. Maybe they're just doing whatever they can and trying whatever they can. But they're apparently, I mean, the idea is whether or not there's enough evidence to convict Leilani. And it seems like the defense is challenging that there's just not enough evidence before the trial even starts.
And this is not what this case needs. I mean, clearly they had, you know, something happened in that house. They followed her to a dumpster where he just happens to get hit. You know, there happens to be a hit.
Okay, but yeah, something happened in that house. But if you can't prove what happened in that house, it doesn't matter. As far as the law is concerned, nothing happened in that house. Thank you, Hack. Appreciate that. As far as the law is concerned, nothing happened in that house if they can't prove it.
At that particular dumpster that she was seen discarding some trash in. They identified that dumpster had already made it to the landfill, and in whatever area that they cordoned off based upon.
So how's that going to sound in court? That she was seen throwing trash away in a dumpster. So we can't get her for littering, is what you're saying. I mean, think about how that's going to sound, you know, in a courtroom. You know, I mean, if they can't prove, I mean, if they can't prove that she's the one that put Quentin in that dumpster, that the contents ended in the landfill, I mean, if I'm a defense attorney, I'm just going to be like, so you're one of the lead detectives on the case. Okay. you testified earlier that you saw my client dumping garbage. And where did you see her dumping garbage? In a dumpster. No further questions, Your Honor. If the prosecution fails to prove that Quentin was in any of the contents of which she disposed of her garbage, that's it.
Upon that dumpster, they ended up finding him in that pile of garbage. So clearly,
they found him in the
or
landfill.
somebody inside that home is responsible for the death and this child being discarded. But she was the only one, from my understanding, that was seen on that videotape at the dumpster in that mobile home park. It wasn't anybody else. So if those are the facts of the case, then
right.
How can you not indict somebody correctly?
I want to be clear. I want to be very clear. I'm not saying that they don't have the proof. I'm saying, what if they don't? I'm just asking the question, what if they don't? There's the possibility that they can't prove that Leilani put Quentin in that dumpster. They might know it, but they can't prove it. You see what I'm saying? I'm not saying that's the case, though. I'm just saying, don't be shocked if it turns out to be the case. We don't know what evidence they have. She's up here saying somebody in that house put Quentin in that dumpster. Not necessarily. You know what I mean? Do I think so? Of course I think so. What I'm saying is I haven't seen any evidence of it, though. I just know what the police believe happened. That's all I know. All I know is what Chatham County Police, what Chief Hadley has said publicly, what he thinks happened. That's all I know. That's all she knows. So to sit here and go, well, I know that she put that. No, you don't. Nobody knows. We don't know what kind of evidence they're going to bring to the table during trial, but be prepared for the possibility that there's nothing, you know?
You know? And if the state attorney didn't, but remember, this is the state attorney that gave kudos and what a attaboy and a job well done.
No. I'll explain. BHB doesn't have the maturity, the self-confidence, or the self-discipline to deliver discipline on a pleasurable basis. She doesn't have the ingredients. She doesn't have it. Just say it.
No charge Hadley. Letting her stay, proud of his work, letting her stay and sleep in her own bed for 5, 6, some odd weeks.
Yeah, while he built a case for the DA, for the people of Chatham County. That's what he was doing. He was proud of the fact that he built a case. That's what he was proud of. So yes, did she get to sleep in her own bed while he was doing so? Absolutely.
While they dug through trash and he had his law enforcement digging through trash to find Quentin Simon's bones. Because we knew at this point there would be nothing left of that little boy. Nothing. Thank you, I am Team Summer. Appreciate it.
Wait.
So, nothing. Simon's law enforcement digging through trash to find while in her own bed for 5, 6, some odd weeks while they dug through trash and he had his law enforcement digging through trash to find Quentin Simon's bones. Because we knew at this point there would be nothing left of that little boy. Nothing.
Thank
you, I am Team Summer.
You realize what you just did? Like, you just completely contradicted yourself. You just basically said what I've been saying like this whole time. Right here, she just said, while she slept in her own bed, Chief Hadley, she specifically named him, Chief Hadley had his people, his law enforcement officers, searching through garbage for Quentin Simon. She just said so. Like, right. That's exactly what he was supposed to be doing. Not having to deal with hearing about units coming out to deal with your dumbass and Dolly's dumbass. I mean,
appreciate it. So,
and she's so serious too. She's, well, the work we do.
anyways.
Look, she's all mad. She's mad about
and then we
case.
have some other things related to Bethany Funk, but I'm not sure I'm ready to get into them just right yet. So we're not going to get into that. I think we're going to get into that, as well as going over the new filing that we weren't able to get through this morning before the trial started. And then we're going to go over Leticia's body language at certain places.
Oh my God, bro.
In kind of how, and in my opinion, acting inappropriately in a courtroom. That's just how she's receptive. What Leticia's body language at certain places in this testimony of these witnesses, because we've been kind of focusing on her the last kind of couple days to see what she's been doing, how she's reacting, how she's receptive to what's going on. Sometimes we see her, and in my opinion, acting inappropriately in a courtroom. That's just my opinion. She's got her head hung down. She looks like she's sleeping. She's unengaged.
Bro, that's everyone's opinion. Like, nobody does that except a fucking asshole. Like, it's established. Leticia Stauch is a fucking asshole. She just hangs her head down. She sleeps. Like they pointed at they threw shade at her today. Like, the prosecutor asked her, it was like, is that the person right there that you're referring to sitting down at the defense table with her head down on her notebook? She was passed out sleeping. She didn't give a fuck about what was going on in court. She doesn't give a fuck about what's going on in court. She knows she's guilty.
My opinion, seeing her attorneys, you look at the other side and you see them working and intently listening and taking notes. A lot of them.
That's their
and
job.
You see these two guys over there with her, and they're kind of just like, yeah, I can't wait until this is over. And it just kind of, that's kind of the feeling that I don't know how you guys are feeling about that.
Well, I could tell you how I feel about it, having actually listened to the testimony and the questions by the prosecution and by the defense. And I'll tell you that yesterday, the fact that she hasn't even brought this up is amazing to me. But yesterday, the defense handed the prosecution their ass just before recess for the night. That absolutely happened. I don't give a fuck what anybody says. That absolutely happened. I'm not saying that they lost the case. I'm not saying that the defense took the case. I'm saying that that witness was trash and they weren't ready for that. The prosecution was not ready for that. And the defense absolutely owned that witness. It was a shocker because I was like, what? And the fucking, it pisses me off just thinking about it. This expert witness, the person who was supposed to take the ball for the prosecution for yards, right? That's what this person was set up to do and failed. When asked by the defense, mind you, about sexual assault Okay. She says that she did not consider child molestation, fondling and whatnot, assault, sexual assault, that it had to be penetration for her, in her opinion, to consider it assault. That infuriated the fuck out of me. I was like, I can't, and it made me so mad that if I pictured myself as an attorney or as a juror, if I pictured myself as a juror, I wouldn't be able to get past that. I would, because I've caught myself for 5 minutes later, like, shit, I'm still thinking about how mad I am about that. And I missed the last 5 minutes of her testimony. And I couldn't help but think that at least 2 jurors were doing the same thing that I was doing, was just sulking in anger about what I just heard this mental health professional say on the stand of a trial that I've been waiting for 3 years to see justice take place. And this was a witness for the prosecution. I was fucking pissed. And yet Betty doesn't even bring it up, which I find fascinating, because it was a shit show. Like, not only did that happen, but the prosecution even reacted to it poorly. The prosecution absolutely had a titty fit in front of the jury, and then the defense had to whine and cry and ask the judge to tell the prosecutor not to taunt him. And then the judge had to discipline the both of them, not necessarily discipline, but put them in line, because they were acting like children. Both the prosecutor and the defense said, both you guys get up here. It was embarrassing. It was embarrassing. Because other than that, this has been a home run for the prosecution this whole time.
But that's kind of like how I'm feeling about it, like my take on it, you know?
And you're talking about Leticia not looking interested.
No, it doesn't, buddy. Justice for Quentin, yeah. It's just, it's so sad, and I don't understand it. I guess is the issue. I don't understand how can.
No, I said it was on.
How
I said you weren't on.
Screw this up so bad. Okay, guys, you guys here. We're back.
Yeah.
Mr. Young, if you would read.
At her.
There we go.
While this, you know,
I don't know what I'm looking for here, folks.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will take our noon recess. If I can have everyone back in place by 1:30, we should be able to start on time at that point. Again, don't discuss the case among yourselves. Don't discuss the case with anyone else. Don't do your own independent research about any aspect of the case. And we'll see you at 1:30. Have a good lunch.
Safe travels. Here.
Yeah, right. The judge so looks like Phil Jackson, the old coach for the Bulls. I mean,
thank you. May all be seated.
I'm not shocked at all.
We need to take up outside the presence of the jury at this point in time. Prosecution, defense. Okay. All right. See everybody at 1:30 then. Thank you.
All rise.
Oh no! And Dr. Torres today saved it. Just saved it. Like the jury was
so
totally engaged in her
there's
testimony.
the camera. Okay, so the camera just got
They asked
killed.
great
so
questions.
So lots to go over for the lunch hour and a half. First thing I want to say, and I'll do this in the morning for the coffee club as well. I actually put these water shoes on the Bullhorn Betty channel, you know, the Amazon wish list. And so I got them. I'm so thankful. It is so sweet. And it says, "Hi, Betty. Just to
I
say
gotta be
thank
honest,
you for
man.
all the work that you do.
I almost feel stupid sometimes for not having a fucking Amazon wish list, but then I'm like, fuck that. I can't do it. I just can't fucking do it. I don't know, and I'm not hating on other creators that have Amazon wish lists, like right on. But like it's I just can't fucking do it.
Valerie. So thank you, Valerie, so much. These will be definitely coming in handy because these are water shoes. These are quick dry. These are perfect. They'll get dirty, but that's okay. They're washable too. So happy.
What I really mean is my feet fucking sweat, and I'm talking like it's like a fucking New Orleans after a hurricane is what my feet are like. So, because I just stand around and I complain, and all that complaining makes me sweat, and it all goes to my feet and fills up my fucking shoes. So these shoes are just perfect. These shoes are just perfect. You're like, you could barely smell my socks through them.
This came in the mail while we were doing the trial. So let's see here.
Go through
For those that are just tuning in, we're watching the trial of Leticia Stauch. She's accused of killing her stepson, 11-year-old Gannon Stout. A lot of the testimony we've been hearing up to this point has been, her family, not her family, her ex-husband, her daughter, her previous employer, the one that she was working for at the time.
Her brother.
Law enforcement that had spoken with Leticia. Let's see what else. There's a
her brother Dakota's testimony, kind of important, just so you know.
Few other things. Like we've been hearing a lot of calls that just made us go nuts. Thank God those are all over with. At least we hope, right? Fingers crossed. Because I've got to tell you, we don't know what the defense is going to bring in, and they may want to, play those tapes again for their witnesses. We may have to listen to it all again. I don't think so, but you never know, right? You never know. But she's but this time we're hearing more from the psychologist because she is stating that she cannot be found guilty of this crime that she committed because she was insane at the time the crime was committed. And so what we're going to do here in just a little bit, we're going to go to my channel. We're going to pull this live up and we're going to watch it. And we're going to go back. I've got some markers in here. Hopefully I got them right. But we're going to go back because there's a few spots with her body language because we've been.
So journalist Betty, instead of actually paying attention to the testimony, because there was actually some really interesting testimony that took place today. Like right now, the prosecution is bringing it home. There's a reason why they put these witnesses in the order that they put them. Okay. And right now the prosecution is trying to bring this home. Okay. These are the people, the Leticia Stauch is pleading not guilty by reason of insanity, claiming that she has DID, dissociative identity disorder. And it's an interesting case because the defense does not have to prove that she has this. The prosecution has to prove that she does not. And it's proving to be a somewhat more effective defense than I anticipated myself personally, because she was never tested for it. So when you think about it in terms of the prosecution has to prove that she does not have dissociative identity disorder, and she was never tested for it by the court-appointed forensic psychologists who testified today and yesterday, by the way. The first one shit the bed totally. And then this one today, hopefully and seemingly made up for it all. So I find it really, really interesting that she, knows so much about the law and is so interested in this case and is covering this case, yet she has so far zero commentary on the most important expert witnesses in this trial that the prosecution is called up onto the stand yet. And I'm going to say that one more time. The most important witnesses that the prosecution is called up to yet in this trial, as far as experts go. Okay? And she has not one opinion on it.
We've been having the camera on her during all these psychology talks and everything like that. Many people have said, have made comments about how perky she seems to be today. When we first started getting into the trial, she had her head down. It's like every time somebody talks negatively about her or talks about horrible behavior that she probably shouldn't have done, but now she's realizing that it's coming back to haunt her. What she said, people are using against her now. And so it's almost like her security blanket, her hair's.
Okay, so if she's paying, fucking Betty's talking about somebody's hair. I love it. But the fact that she's focused on her hair is hilarious too. She's not even acknowledging a very important factor in this case, especially since she's keeping such a close eye on Leticia. But she's not even paying attention to Leticia, because Leticia has said and been caught on these recordings saying, I know I'm being recorded. I know this stuff's going to be used against me in court. I've heard her say that. We've all who were paying attention heard her say this more than once. Okay? So it's not a surprise to her to hear herself and the things that she said coming back to haunt her, as you put it. It's not haunting her. I mean, maybe, but it doesn't seem to bother her, because here you are talking about how she doesn't seem to care about what's going on in the courtroom. She doesn't give a fuck.
First, like her security blanket, like when she feels ashamed of her behavior, she kind of puts her head down and uses her hair as a shield to kind of shield all the eyes looking at her while this stuff is being discussed. And that's just my
bro. She's hiding her face so she could sleep. Leticia doesn't give a fuck about what's going on in that courtroom.
Personal feelings on the situation, like, because I look at her and it seems like when people have, not so significant, like this stuff is about mental capacity. This is, she's thinking, oh, don't worry, my attorney's got this. So she's a little more confident. But when they're talking about how, she said this or she said that, or she just now started exhibiting these behaviors in November, and some of the comments that have been said, and some of the, when they were bringing up how she was trying to play crazy or show mental illness while they're in front of the doctors, and then a few minutes later or in the same day, she's calling her daughter, telling her daughter how to balance the checkbook and all this other stuff. And it just wasn't indicative of somebody that's insane, or it's more indicative of somebody that wants to play the insanity card. As I'm not going to, I shouldn't put words in this expert's mouth, but that's kind of what it's saying, more or less.
That's not what she did at all. I explained this in my live earlier. This expert witness was very careful in the way that she delivered her answers. Dr. Torres was extremely careful in the way that she delivered her answers, that she did not give an opinion, a solid opinion one way or the other, of whether or not she thought that Leticia was faking. She did not say that. What she did say was, when asked that, she started naming certain traits that seem like there are times that are indicative, as she put it, with someone with dissociative identity disorder, but because she didn't test for it, she can't give a definitive answer. So she could not give a definitive answer as to whether or not Leticia was faking. What she did, though, was she very technically and very carefully and very in a lot of detail, basically. She created a formula of how she basically explained to the jury the formula in which she would come to certain conclusions. But since they weren't testing for DID, that she couldn't give a definitive answer on that. But she gave, well, yes, cautiously, strategically, those not the words I was looking for, but I appreciate your help. But she very, very carefully, she was giving very, very detailed formula as to how she came to the conclusions that she did, and she allowed the jury to make their own conclusions. So she didn't sit there and go, I'm an expert and I know what I'm talking about and my findings are this. She said, well, I methodically, thank you. See, I love having a chat. You guys are amazing. So she was very, very careful and methodical in how she explained how she got to certain conclusions and what her opinions were to a certain degree. She would say that she was, what was the word that she used? It was very interesting. It's going to drive me crazy. I can't remember now because it's beyond my vocabulary, but she would explain that she did not come to certain findings. They had specific tests that they had Leticia go under. And then she was kind of clear saying there were signs here, instead of saying, I think she was lying or I think she was making things up. She would say, she would word it more carefully and say, in my experience and seeing somebody this type of answer and the way that she droned on and then she would jump from one subject to another made me feel that she was not actually that this was not a symptom of dissociative identity disorder, that it was more veining. So she was careful to give just enough information, right? Feigning, exactly. To give just enough information to let the jury kind of make up their own mind as to what her findings probably were. But there was absolutely no invalidating. Yes. She would find certain things and she would say, unfortunately, as though to express empathy towards Leticia. She would say, unfortunately, we found that to be invalidating. As if, you know what I mean? As if she almost wanted to help Leticia. It was very strange. But she was very empathetic in the way that she explained everything, and very professional in the way that she explained everything, and let you come to your own opinions. I was just really, really impressed by her. I'm a layman, to say the least. So I have a hard time explaining a forensic psychologist testimony word for word, because a lot of what the language she used was beyond my vocabulary. But she did not say the things that Betty is saying that she said. She was careful not to, is the point.
Let's be honest, that pretty much is what they're saying. I think she might even came out and said that she thought she was faking. This is indicative of faking.
She was careful
trying
to not
fake
do
a
that.
diagnosis.
No, she didn't say that either.
So she's saying she's guilty, and we did kind of call this early on in this trial, because we noticed that the attorneys, and I kept saying these attorneys have just about given up on this case. She appears like she's checked out. The attorney's checked out. And then when I was looking at it and looking, going back and reviewing what had transpired and stuff like that, it became very clear to me that, she's already, and we all know this now because we've talked about it several times, but she's, by her changing her plea from guilty to not guilty, it basically acknowledged that she killed Gannon. She's just saying she can't be guilty because at the time she was insane and therefore didn't know right from wrong. The state's trying to prove that she did know right from wrong at the time that she killed Gannon, and her behavior exhibited during and after he was killed proved that she was sane at the time and just trying to fake this insanity plea to get out of responsibility for her actions. That's what the state's trying to prove. But the defense is trying to prove that she is mentally ill.
No.
They're not trying to prove whether or not she did it or not, whether...
No, the defense is not trying to prove that. That's the whole thing is this. Again, Betty doesn't understand the law for shit, because they are not, the defense is not trying to prove that she has DID. They're just trying to get the jury to question whether or not she does. That's all. That's all they have to do. They're not trying to prove anything. They're just trying to disprove the state's case. That's their job.
The forensic data matches up to show that because they basically said she did do it. So then it all clicked that they didn't give up, so to speak. It just, they're not really disputing anything up to that point about Gannon's death. They're not disputing that she bludgeoned him, that she stabbed him, and that she shot him. They're not disputing the DNA evidence in that room. They're not disputing that she told law enforcement as well as her husband, 100 different, not quite 100 different, but I'm exaggerating, but 100, maybe, who knows, with all the variations, 100 different stories.
Dude, yesterday was such a wreck, and it completely went over her head. Do you know that one of the forensic psychologists that evaluated Leticia in jail, she was just fucking shut down, because one of the things beyond the things that I went over earlier, they also threw in her face saying that, okay, well, she had 23-hour lockdown, 24-hour surveillance. They had to log what she was doing every 15 minutes, blah, 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 all of this stuff. Suicide watch, right? And then they said, the defense brings up that in the same jail, under the same rules, under the same policies, an inmate hung themselves, and their body wasn't even discovered until it was cold already. So she was stuck. She didn't even know how to respond to that. That looked really bad. So what it did was it questioned her competence, and it questioned the credibility of the facilities that she works in, and the credibility and the integrity of the facilities in which Leticia was subject to. That puts into question the integrity of her entire evaluation, which is bad.
About what happened. So you put all these things together, and they're not disputing any of that. So that's why they've been so disengaged at the beginning. But now we're getting to the witnesses that are talking about her mental capacity, her behavior, diagnosis, medication, the stuff that they're wanting to hone in on. And as we're going through this, and we did find out that the lady up there that is the witness that they're questioning up till lunch was the expert forensic psychologist. And it seemed like they've been focusing a lot through this particular witness, a lot on this borderline personality disorder. And so, you know, while this trial is going on and they're saying all this stuff, believe it or not, I am looking at this border news, and it seemed like they've been focusing for is as we're going through this. And we did find out that the lady up there that is the witness that they're questioning up till lunch was the expert forensic psychologist. And it seemed like they've been focusing a lot.
Now she's got it. She knows who she is now. Good for you, Betty.
Through this particular witness, a lot on this borderline personality disorder.
Okay. If she had been listening to the trial this entire fucking time, it's not in question. Her having borderline personality disorder has almost hardly come up at all. Okay. The term is dissociative identity disorder. Very different things. This is the word. This is what's been going on since the trial started. They mentioned this in the opening statements that Leticia Stauch was suffering from dissociative identity disorder. If you're not familiar with that, if you remember the movie with Sally Field in the 80s called Sybil, the movie Split with James McAvoy, that's dissociative identity disorder, basically. Almost nobody is diagnosed with it. Like it's almost like non-existent. Almost nobody's been diagnosed with it.
And so, you know, while this trial is going on and they're saying all this stuff, believe it or not, I am looking up everything that they're talking about here.
Right. And also, what do you call it? The United States of Terra, that too.
Behind the scenes to find out a little bit more about it. So let me just pull this down and let's see if we can
talk to it, Cherry.
Put something else up. And we're going to go over, you know, some of the stuff that I have been doing some research on.
Now, do I think that?
And we're going to go over.
Do I think that that Leticia possibly has borderline personality disorder? Sure, but I think Betty probably has borderline personality disorder. As a matter of fact, it's really funny and ironic that she's covering this case because I keep seeing people compare her to Leticia. It's very, very interesting. I mean, she talks about herself in a third person. She's completely full of herself. Yeah, breaking news tonight. Exactly. Yeah, this is
over some of the stuff that that is associated with this borderline personality disorder.
Wow.
So here it is. Let me see if I can get a little
Googling
better.
the wrong shit.
I'm not sure if I like that one.
She's Googling the wrong shit, y'all. It's not even what the defense is arguing. That's not even.
Move this over, and I can't move it over. So I guess it's it. I guess it. I'm down at the bottom of the screen. If you can't see me, I'm down at the bottom of the screen. You guys know I'm not used to this whole restream stuff yet.
You're
so
not used to doing
bear
research.
with me. But I did want to show you that I am looking into this. And so just on a cursory review on Google, it basically says that borderline personality disorder, a mental disorder characterized by unstable moods, behaviors, and relationships. The cause of borderline personality disorder isn't well understood. Diagnosis made based on symptoms including emotional instability, feelings of worthlessness, insecurity.
She's describing her own symptoms.
Impulsivity, and impair social relations. Treatments include talk therapy and in some cases medication. Hospitalization helps if
God, bro.
symptoms are severe. So, I'm looking at this. I mean, I think everybody has experienced at least some of the symptoms through some point of their life, at some point in their life. I mean, if you're young, maybe not. I don't know how many young folks I've got in my chat, but if you're young, probably not. But for the most, most of us that are
this is pretty normal stuff, this borderline personality disorder. I mean, I've had it. That means everybody's fucking had it. I've been through it, right? I mean, I'm a totally narcissistic, delusional piece of shit. You guys must be too. I mean, you have at some point been a narcissistic, borderline, fucking crazy ass piece of shit. Hurt people, beat people up, made excuses for your behavior every single time. No accountability. Everybody's done that, right? Come on.
We're aging. We've probably had some unstable moods at times, or inappropriate behavior, or trouble with the relationship, being too needy, being too obsessive about stupid, petty things. I think we've all had emotional instability at some point in our life. We've had that feeling of worthlessness and insecurity at some point. I'm 36 years young. Well, God bless you. God bless you. I'll trade you my 43 for your 36. How about that? But so I think we've all kind of had some of these symptoms in our lives. So I think we can identify, maybe not to the degree that they're trying to imply that Leticia Stauch may have it, but it just seemed like they were spending a lot of time on the the diagnosis of borderline personality disorder.
No, they weren't.
The problem here for me is I don't think that diagnosis.
They fucking avoided it like the plague. The defense avoided that shit like the plague because she's totally a fucking narcissistic, borderline personality disorderly asshole.
Is anything that's going to where she doesn't know right from wrong because of it. It doesn't sound like he's trying to make this huge leap that there's some kind of hallucination, almost like a schizophrenia type of diagnosis with this borderline personality disorder.
And nobody in her chat's correcting her. That's what I love. Or at least look at your chat and check. Mistaken Reaper, thank you so much. I actually have BPD and it's not fun to live with. At least you, I understand. I'm sorry for making jokes about it. I apologize. Because some people are fucking assholes when they don't actually acknowledge it. I love that you acknowledge that you have it. And I actually have a ton of respect for you for it. So it's a hell of a thing to admit. But you got to admit, one of those, it's a very ironic diagnosis because part of that personality trait that would fall under, it would be very rare for someone to actually have the self-awareness and take the accountability to take steps to get help and try to manage it. So kudos to you for that. Betty's one of those people that's just an asshole for not getting help and taking accountability for the way that her sick mind affects other people around her.
Disorder, and I'm not disputing that she does have some kind of emotional emotional disorder. What is it? A dysregulation disorder. So it's an emotional dysregulation disorder. So I'm not disputing she may very well have that, but that is not the standard in Colorado. The standard in Colorado, wouldn't you know, is actually insane to the point of not knowing right from wrong. And the only thing that they really have at this point to gauge whether she knew right from wrong is her actions shortly after Gannon was killed.
Now, keep in mind,
she
folks,
had
keep in mind, she still hasn't mentioned dissociative identity disorder, which is the entire defense. The case that she's been streaming all day long, every day, she still doesn't know the term and then just Googled the wrong shit. Patricia Self, thank you so much. Read my post. I didn't see your post. What post? Thank you, though. Where's your post? Is it a previous comment? I don't know.
actions of those that of a guilty person, somebody that she knew did wrong. And I know we've covered that before. Also, and let me see if I think I actually might even have looked that question up, as if they know right from wrong. And let's see what this one says. I'm not sure what
She's so stuck on the wrong fucking thing, on the wrong mental illness. Totally just dwelling on the wrong shit. Like, this is a prime example of misinformation in a case. So here her entire chat is counting on her to be paying attention and following this case and looking to her because she's a journalist. They're looking to her for the updates and the facts. And yet here she is, not even knowing or even bothering to listen to the case, to the trial, where they say dissociative identity disorder at least 100 times a day during the trial. So here she is talking about borderline personality disorder and Googling the wrong shit. Like, dude, listen. Dissociative identity disorder. Let me try to explain it to you guys as best as I can without Googling. As I understand it through following the trial. Apparently, if she switches to one of these other personalities, she's claiming that this other personality she has no control over, but she has memory of that person, right? Of this other personality, but she has no control over their actions. And that's why she's claiming that she's not responsible, because Leticia's not responsible. Maria is responsible for killing Gannon. Even though her explanation of Maria's personality doesn't add up to any logical reason why that person would murder Gannon. She's claiming that Maria's objective is to protect people from bad people. Like, if she sees a child molester, she goes and it's Maria now, and Maria's a trained killer, right? So this is her ridiculous thing that she, in my opinion, is making up, and most people's opinions, that she's making up this other personality. And yeah, she did say, well, Betty didn't say Maria that I know of, but this dissociative identity disorder, this other personality is Maria, and Maria is responsible for Gannon's death, not Leticia. And that's why she thinks that she's going to get away with this. But that dog just don't hunt. It's the forensic psychologists are basically shutting it down.
What it says, it says, some borderlines can believe what they feel to be true so strongly it becomes their truth or reality, despite what reality says. Now, this is an opinion. This is not an opinion.
Wait, you mean like being a reporter or a lawyer? You mean like that? Like having a YouTube channel and calling it your job? You mean that?
In a medical journal or anything else. This is somebody writing their opinion. I want to make sure that's very, very clear, because what I read before was more clinical, more clinical definition. So factual. This that I'm reading now is an opinion of someone as opposed to a definition.
Yeah.
So I wanted to make sure that that was clear. And it says
of a mental
when
illness, it's not even a
challenged,
subject
people
in this
will
case.
face either a fight or flight response or a win at all cost mentality despite the consequences. You'd be amazed at the lengths some borderlines
Look at her.
will go.
Look at
in
her.
order not
Look at
or
her.
a challenged people.
Look at her relate to it. Watch her relate to that shit right there. This shit is fucking killing me.
Will face either a fight or flight response or a win at all cost mentality despite the consequences. You'd be amazed at the length some borderlines will go in order not to be put in a bad light of any kind. Even when reality says they're busted, they're never wrong, and it's never them. Wow.
Wow.
So
That's
you know
me.
it makes you wonder. So
Oh
I
my
don't
God.
think we're disputing this potential diagnosis that it seems like that her attorneys want to focus on. And so they were trying to impeach. I don't know if you guys remember, and some of you guys.
Well, she just said that her attorneys don't want to focus on that because they're fucking damning traits. Of course not, because that's not what they're fucking focused on. They're focused on a completely different mental illness. And they don't even consider that a mental illness. They don't even consider it. Like, I think she said she called it something else. I can't remember what it was.
Guys just tuning in probably weren't watching it. But the defense actually tried to impeach this forensic psychologist, this expert forensic psychologist, based on some paper that she had just basically reviewed right before she went up on that stand. And so they were trying to get the entire article into the record for this case as a defense exhibit C. Oh, yeah, the defense exhibit C. And so the judge looked at the article and said that he didn't want the whole thing in. He could take excerpts from this article for the point that he was trying to make, and he cited a 803-18. So this is a.
So she makes it a point to know what the fucking exhibit is numbered and labeled, yet she doesn't fucking make a point to understand what the fuck the evidence is for and why the defense wants to enter it in as evidence. Oh my God, dude.
Hearsay exemption that actually covers like publications and pamphlets and treaties and, more of the written, tangible article, if you will, and seeing how she didn't author what he was presenting to her. He was, proffering other material from someone else and acting as if it's true. And remember, through this litigation process, in order to get that article in as true or some kind of fact for the case, they would have had to have the author of that pamphlet to come in and authenticate it for it to be used and to explain how they came up with the hypothesis that they came up with in that article for it to be used without having to have a hearsay type of exemption. The judge did go ahead and allow this article into evidence on a very limited basis.
Oh my God.
Under the 803.18 hearsay rule.
Totally irrelevant.
The judge ruled, obviously, limited admissibility.
Nobody gives a fuck.
Hurry by. And the one thing that the defense did, it seems like, we are getting frustrated with the defense. I feel my blood boil when I hear them come up to the lectern to start asking the witness questions, especially these witnesses with psychology, because at the end of the day, they have to represent Leticia Stauch in the.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jack's BDFI, Flight Jack's BFDI world will be departing, and make sure to buckle up and have a safe flight and fuck off.
In the best possible, with their in their best ability, they have to fight for her, and this is more in line with their wheelhouse of their defense for Leticia, that she's crazy. So having these experts up there providing opinions that she's faking it, that her behavior doesn't mimic that of somebody that's suffering from these certain psychotic illnesses and other things like that.
Which ones, Betty? What are they?
Don't like that, so they've got to be harder on those witnesses, and just like where this the defense was trying to impeach this expert forensic psychologist on the stand that we just
their job,
seen.
Man,
and it wasn't easy, and he was getting a little hot under the collar, and then of course recross happened. And the state came back up and started clarifying some things. I have to say, some of the questions that the jurors, I mean, there was 3 different questions or 2 different questions. I can't remember exactly. But based on the questions that they asked, some of the questions were very confusing, but I kind of understand the sentiments. They're starting to see her inability to concentrate in this trial. This is becoming a main point for these jurors. These jurors, I can tell you,
it is not becoming a main point for these jurors. These jurors, what's becoming a main point for these jurors, what's always been the main point. I know she said recross. I love it. What's become a main point for these jurors, if you paid attention to the questions that they were allowed to ask, they are completely invested in understanding and trying to understand this mental illness that you don't seem to know the name of. And they're trying to understand so that they don't send someone, so that they understand her defense, and they don't send someone to prison for the rest of their life who could have been helped. But I don't think that's going to happen. All I'm reassured of is that the jury is paying close attention.
Everybody seems to be doing their job the way that they're supposed to be doing, including the defense. Everyone seems to be doing their job up to par. And so that is less of a chance of, now it's more of a chance that she's going to be convicted, and it's also less of a chance that there will be an appeal. So I like to see things running just the way that they're supposed to be running, which is exactly what's happening with this case right now. The jury's not giving a fuck necessarily about the way that she looks. She's pleading insanity. So she's expected to look like she's not, like she's supposed to look as though she's, wait for it. Thank you, Simple Life of Days. Wait for it. She's supposed to look like she's disassociative, maybe, because that's her defense. Maybe. I don't know. I'm thinking maybe.
Just based upon my experience and already the several questions to the judge about her behavior inside that courtroom, I can tell that the jurors are becoming bothered by her behavior. And they are questioning, is that behavior indicative of the mental illnesses that she is actually claiming to have at this juncture?
At this juncture.
So I think the questions are very thoughtful from the jury. I definitely I believe that this judge is very fair.
You notice that the jury never asked, like, what's up with your hair? The jury never asked, hey, what's up with you, like, slouching in your chair? What's up with that? Because according to you, that's what the jury's paying attention to.
He seems to listen to everything, but I think the one thing that I, as well as our audience, appreciates the most about this particular
Don't you hate
judge
that shit?
is the fact that
I get
he's
so mad.
so inclusive.
I get so mad when there's a word I like to use and some dumbass fucking uses it and like overuses it, and then I'm just like, fuck, I can't use that cool ass word anymore. Shit makes me so mad. These stupid people.
Of the jury, he wants to make sure that while that witness is up there, if they have a question that they need to ask, that they ask. And I think that that's really smart, because, and I don't know if if that's just in his discretion to do, and he's allowed to, and so he does it, or if he does that because, these are capital cases, and you, as a juror, in putting, even if it's not, even if you're not going to be weighing whether it's a death penalty case or if it's just life in prison, I don't think that really matters. I think it's the fact that what your decision is, it's going to be affecting this person's life for the rest of their life. And, as a juror, I think you would want to have every ounce of information to know when you make that ultimate determination that you did your absolute due diligence. And so I applaud the judge for allowing them to ask questions, because I think by him allowing them to ask questions, it stops the propensity of them of wanting to go and look up information. I really think, not that jurors do, nor have I ever really heard. We've heard of jurors not following the rules and being
Why
removed.
the fuck would you even go there? Why? There's not even remotely a suspicion of the jury of a jury member going and looking up information. Like, there's not anything to indicate that. As a matter of fact, the contrary. A juror came forward and said that she knew one of the agents of the FBI. Like, just barely just acquainted. And that juror was dismissed. But this is there. I'm seeing every indication that this jury is totally ethical, totally scrupulous. They're not they're not doing anything wrong.
Like, why would you even bring that up? That the reason why the judge so in Betty's mind, the reason why the judge is allowing the jury to ask questions is so that they don't Google the case and look things up when they're not supposed to, when they're not, so they don't break the rules. That's Betty, like he's merely letting them ask questions so that they understand the case more. And as you said, so that they do their due diligence to make sure that they understood the case fully, because someone's life is in their hands. It's not that their life will be effective or affected. That is the understatement of the year. They are taking a person's life away. That's what's happening. Okay? The question is whether or not that person deserves it. That's the question.
Moved from their jury duties, but we don't hear it often. You know, jurors, when they go through the process, they're taking their job seriously, as serious as jurors, in my humble opinion. Just as many of you, and especially a case like this.
There's nothing humble about your
somebody's
shitty
life
opinions.
is truly on the line. You take your job very seriously, and you're in a sense honored that you have an opportunity to serve. But some of the stuff that you have to go through, being on, especially in a case like this, some of the images that the public, like we're live streaming, that we weren't allowed to see. They made sure that those graphic type of images weren't seen by the public. But the jurors don't get that luxury of seeing blurred images, and we have to realize that they have to see what they have to see. And some of these images are images that they will never, ever, ever get out of their
Oh my
brain.
God, bro.
In some of these cases. And I have to think that this case is similar. Like, we heard the Lori Vallow case. Apparently, when they showed the image of JJ Vallow to the jurors,
That's
apparently
crazy.
there was a commotion, like a gasping of, just pure, they can't believe what they're seeing from the jury. And, that just shows you the level of what these jurors have to go through mentally by serving in a case
Oh
like
my
this.
God, lady.
I think if you ever have to serve in a capital case, I think you should be absolved from ever having to serve on a jury ever again. If you so chose, I think if you serve on a capital case where you
my
have to
God,
see graphic material and things of that nature, I
crazy?
personally wish that they have.
Hold on a second. Yeah, I like to be 100% sure of things. I was 99.99% sure. And why the fuck is she talking about a capital case here when there's no death penalty in Colorado? There's no death penalty on the table for this case. The fuck is she talking about? Like, there's no death penalty in Colorado, dude. So she's sitting here talking about how hard it is for these jurors who are having to look at evidence in a capital case. No, this is not a capital case, though. I don't know what she's talking about.
Have and had a law that says that you, at your choosing, at your will, no longer ever have to serve on a jury again. Because I think it would be totally unfair if somebody had to go through that, and just as unlucky as they may be, would have to go through that like 2 or 3 years later, all over again with another crime similar in nature or even maybe more graphic. And I just think that's unfair, in my opinion, because I can't imagine what they've seen. So before we get on, and I know, and we'll kind of dovetail back to the Leticia Stauch trial here in a little bit, but I did want to get on to some of the stuff, and I'm probably going to have to go over it again in the morning because we were under the impression from all the instructions provided yesterday that we weren't starting the trial until 10:30 in the morning, and they ended up starting the trial at around 9:30, 9:45 in the morning, cutting.
That's not what happened at all. It started on time. Trisha Sell, thank you so much. Thanks, Heels Glare. Fucking looking forward to it. Right on. Appreciate that. What is she talking about? Okay, so yesterday, this is what happened. What she's talking about, to give you guys a little bit more insight. So there was some bad weather expected to come in today. They've been talking about it since Monday. Okay. All right, Heel. See you later. Thank you. Thank you, Calamity Jade. I appreciate that. They were talking about since Monday that there might be some bad weather on Wednesday, and they might have a delay considering the weather, considering what the weather's going to be like. They might have a delay or even a cancellation in court for today. And so yesterday they were like, okay, well, we'll find out. All you got to do is call this number. Or he was talking to the jury saying that you'll get a call, or you, just to be sure, there's a number that you can call to find out if court is going to be open. So there's ways to find out. At no point did they say we're going to be delaying the court time. At no point did they ever say that. So I don't know why she's saying that they were supposed to start late. No, they weren't supposed to start late. At no point did they ever say that they were going to start late. They said that they'll let us know. And you know what I did today? I woke up, I checked with Cherry, I checked with the weather myself. Cherry double checked. Court was resuming at the regular time, and that was it. There was no delay at all. So I don't know why she's saying that it was supposed to start late when it wasn't. At no point was it announced that they were going to start late.
Cutting the majority of the live, because I scheduled the live for later, so to justify, because I knew I could discuss all of the stuff I wanted to discuss in the 2 hours. But as soon as I was talking about whether to open the phones on the first topic, which is the whole outlandish mirror.co.uk article that came out saying that, Bethany Funk witnessed this naked guy running down, out the sliding door, and it just doesn't make sense. We know the house. We know that if she was in her room, there is no window to the back side of the house. We know there is no sliding glass door on the downstairs. You can only get out on the back side of that house from the second floor.
Okay. That's quite enough of that. Yeah, I just wanted to see if Betty was paying attention to the case. And that was fascinating because I could see that she's paying attention to the parts of the case that don't fucking matter. Like, they're not none of anything that mattered, like, she got right. Like, insane. How do you not know what the defense is? Like, this is, I mean, we just went over the 15th day of court. And you still don't know what the defense's strategy is here? Okay. Yeah. Yeah, she just doesn't seem to have any real understanding of how investigations work, how the law works, as usual. And man, you guys saw I was willing to give her the benefit of the doubt at the beginning of this stream, man. She started talking about the certain facts of the case. But you know, when it came to the trial, what she's been streaming all day, every day, she was paying attention to the the exhibit letters, but not what they were and what the point of them were. They wanted to enter this. It was entered as Exhibit C, but I don't know what the fuck it is, and I don't know who the fuck the witness was who was on there. I mean, it's the strongest witness in the case, but I don't know. Yeah. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up, guys. It's getting late. I was gonna go live for like an hour, man. It's 2.5 hours, man. I really appreciate you guys kicking it with me, man. Thank you guys so much. It's been a long day on YouTube for me. But as far as tomorrow, I don't know if you guys are interested. You know, if you've taken any interest in this case that Betty was going over poorly, I've been going over it. Tracy Ann, aka Chasing Truth, has been going over it. So if you actually want some decent, you know, opinions on this case from people who are actually paying attention to it, and I've actually followed this case for the last 3 years, then, you know, join me. Absolutely. Or join Chasing Truth as well. She's doing a fantastic job. I mosey on over there when I'm, you know, on lunch break, and I say hello and stuff because I love her chat. But yeah, if you're interested in that stuff, there's great creators that are going over it, and I am too. So I would love to hang out with you guys if you guys wanted to. And yeah, I know, I see you, Deets. I love that. You know what? I do this for creators that I like and respect, and Deets, under the rare case that I may have to slow chat down. I don't want Deets slowed down. Deets gets to have special privileges in the chat. Not that I expect you to do any work. That's just an honorary wrench that I give channels that I like. So you're now a moderator here. So yeah, you don't have to do any work or nothing like that. That's not why I gave it to you. It's just to have a wrench in here. Anyways, yeah, I'm beat. I'm gonna eat some more chicken. Watch a movie. Yeah, I really appreciate you guys and hanging out with me. I had a great time. I love you guys very much, and we will do this again very soon, my friends.